is football. Football is
America.
America.
Football is America. If you don't like it, you can kiss your candy ass on the moment in time. I don't give a damn. Oh my God.
No.
You loved it.
It's 30 to 27. Chiefs win. Chiefs win 30 to 20.
Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Only Football Podcast. It has been a very long week. My apologies, first off, for not getting more content out to you guys. We have been really busy. Of course, Rick is finally back, so we're going to be having Rick back next week, and everything's going to be back to normal. But me recently got a promotion, and I have been really working like 75-hour weeks. It's just been crazy. Now things are about to start settling back down. We just hired somebody else who's going to take quite literally half of my workload from me, and that's going to free up a lot of space and time. But in the meantime, I wanted to just give you guys a quick little video and put something out there tonight. I'm thinking it's probably going to be around 30 minutes, but I wanted to put something out there because there's a couple key free agents that are still available, and I wanted to talk about them. We got Stefon Diggs and we got Aaron Rodgers, okay? And we got Jinja in the chat. What is up, Jinja? How are you doing? It's getting late. You got to get up early tomorrow like me. But we got Stefon Diggs and Aaron Rodgers both available. And I want to start with Stefon Diggs because he's 31 years old. He's entering free agency at an older age, and it is just fascinating how fast Stefon Diggs went from being considered the best or top 3 wide receiver in the NFL to being on no team and nobody wanting him. And I'm not saying nobody wants him, but it seems like nobody wants him yet. And that is just wild how fast he has gone from stardom to undesirable. Prior to the injury, Stefon Diggs had week 8 with the Texans last year. He only had 47 receptions, 496 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So didn't really have a ton of production with the Texans. And we're going to talk about where he's going and where would he be a really good fit. Because if you're the Broncos or the Chiefs or, a couple other teams that we'll talk about, like there's a lot of good places that make sense for him. Jameis Winston signs a 2-year deal with the Giants. That right there is big news for the Giants because the Giants, this is just like a fun fact, the Giants have never started an African-American quarterback. They've never had a black quarterback. The Giants have never started a black quarterback. Did you know that? Because I just found this out. And I was wondering when I read that, how many other teams haven't started a black quarterback? I know the Broncos have. And it's interesting because I'm wondering if there's like 5 to 10 teams like this or like 15, or if like the Giants are the only one. Jamie, can you pull up that information for me? Let me know how many teams in the NFL have never started a black quarterback. But yeah, that would be the case for the New York Giants. So if he actually does take some first team reps, the Giants will have snapped the record. We do have information as of 6 hours ago that it's a safe bet that Aaron Rodgers is going to land with the Steelers. No shit. And I said this the day DK Metcalf was a Steeler. I was like, okay, obviously, as a fan, I'm cheering for Aaron Rodgers to be a Viking, just as a football fan. It's a better narrative. It's a great story. For all the obvious reasons of Brett Favre, it would have been cool to see Aaron Rodgers go to the Vikings and play the Packers. It would have just been awesome. Seriously, it would have been amazing. It would have been primetime TV. It would have been like WWF style entertainment. And we're not going to get that. But just like Peyton Manning, going from the Colts to the Broncos, Aaron Rodgers is trying to win 2 Super Bowls with 2 different teams. And the team that he's going to be trying to win his second ring with is the team he beat when he won his first ring. Now, there's only been one quarterback, I believe, to try to win a Super Bowl with the team he beat in the Super Bowl, and that was when Russell Wilson became a Bronco, because of course he defeated the Broncos, and then he was, trying to win a Super Bowl. Let's ride. Couldn't cook. It was terrible. Burnt the kitchen down. Russell Wilson's been kind of a nomad ever since. By the way, we can talk about him a little bit if you want, but Aaron Rodgers is going to try to rewrite the narrative. Now, Aaron Rodgers is kind of tough to crack right now, because if you remove all of your feelings about him, I know that he's one of those guys that, like, especially when you watch mainstream media, it's like, we like him, we don't like him, his personality, his ego, the way he rubs people, the way he is in the locker room, all of this stuff, right? I don't want to talk about any of it. If you have the ability, I want to remove all of it and talk about the player, Aaron Rodgers. There's 2 things to look at with Aaron Rodgers for me. The number 1 thing is age. The number 2 thing is injury. I guess there's 3 things. And the third thing would be, how good is Aaron Rodgers right now? Well, what we do know is it doesn't matter if you're 41 years old or if you're 23 years old. Suffering a complete Achilles rupture is a very significant injury, and you are not the same your first year back. I don't care if you're Saquon Barkley or if you're Aaron Rodgers, right? We got 2 quarterbacks last year that are a little bit older that had the Achilles that came back 1 year later, and both of those quarterbacks didn't look good, all right? That's Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers. It's not a coincidence that they both didn't look good. No, they both didn't just fall off of a huge cliff. I know you could say Aaron Rodgers has been steadily declining, but still, even so, I think that the injury to the Achilles is a huge reason that we saw 2 quarterbacks that were used to playing at an above mediocre level playing at a mediocre or below mediocre level. And you know what backs up my argument is that later in the season, week 15, 16, 17, 18, Aaron Rodgers started to play better football. He had his first 300-yard passing game late in the season. His connection with Devontae Adams was starting to spark. Jets fans were starting to actually see the type of Aaron Rodgers that they traded for. And Kirk Cousins didn't have the same opportunity because he was benched for Michael Penix Jr. But I think if Kirk Cousins would have stayed out there, I think he would have played better football later in the season as well, because that injury is a serious injury. All players are better year 2. It's a 2-year thing, okay? First year back, you're not the same. Now, you got to take into consideration that he's 41 years old, all right? He's going to be 42 years old during the season on December 2nd. So Aaron Rodgers turning 42 years old. He missed a whole season with the injury. So I don't know, like, do we count that? Is that a year of wear and tear? I mean, if you park your car in a parking garage for an entire year and the engine goes down and you repair the engine, does that mean that the tires are, an extra year old? You get what I'm saying? Like, the tires aren't an extra year old. They haven't been driven. Yes, there was another issue with the vehicle, and that issue should be fixed this year. Aaron Rodgers, at the level of age that he has made it to, playing the quarterback position, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, now Aaron Rodgers, it is going to require mental, right? This is the problem. Aaron Rodgers is a pure quarterback when it comes to making reads, loving the game, studying the game, winning at the line of scrimmage, all of that stuff, okay? The one thing you have to be great at if you want to play quarterback at a high level in your 40s is you have to be wicked smart. You have to be smart. You got to have it figured out between the ears. And this is one of the reasons we're seeing Russell Wilson decline so bad, is because what Russell Wilson didn't have in his mental understanding of the game, he made up for his backyard football athleticism. And now that that is failing him, he is no longer of value. Hence the reason he's not on a team right now. Do I think Aaron Rodgers with the Pittsburgh Steelers team that was just 10-2 by week 13, a team that had Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, like who's going to start, who's not? Do I think Aaron Rodgers is an improvement from both of those quarterbacks? I do. I do think it's an upgrade. Justin Fields, we could go back and forth, but I really don't think so, because Justin Fields, look at the score of those games, man. He was winning those games by scoring like 13, 17, 10 points. I mean, like, the defense is what won those games. Aaron Rodgers is going to come into a good situation. Now, when he came to the Jets, supposedly the Jets had a great defense. Things were going to be awesome. They weren't able to keep players. You had players that wanted big contracts that were holding out. You had guys like John Franklin Myers leave. And the defense just wasn't the same. Last year, the Jets defense was kind of mediocre. Robert Saleh, who was the heart and soul of that defense, no longer even on the team. It was just not, the whole thing was just a disaster. Aaron Rodgers, if he goes to Pittsburgh, which I think he will, and I think this deal's been lined up for a month, maybe. I think they're only negotiating the money, because I don't think you pay $100+ million for a DK Metcalf if you don't know who's throwing him the ball. I don't believe that. Not for a second. I think that him and Aaron Rodgers or his agent have been working something. The DK Metcalf was already part of this, and that one was a done deal. This one has maybe some linguistics that they're trying to figure out, the semantics, the guaranteed. It's probably going to be a 1-year contract because of his age. But yeah, I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers are the last team that makes sense. The Vikings are out. They're rolling with JJ McCarthy. The Raiders are going with Geno Smith, which makes sense with the reunion with Pete Carroll. The other two teams that need a quarterback are the Texans and the Giants, Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. There's nothing else, right? It's the Steelers. And I think it's a safe bet. And that's what everyone's saying right now, that he is going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, which should not be a shock to anybody. It really shouldn't be. Nick saying, yes, Kyle, but the tires have advanced in the dry rot process. And Ginger said, wish we would pick him up. And that's the other thing. I didn't even think about that, but the Colts would be great. And instead, they're going to have a quarterback competition with Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. I mean, press X to doubt. Like, no. What? How do you convince a fan base that that is a good situation to go into a new year with? Like, I don't get it. I really don't. I mean, if I'm the Colts, I would have been like, let's try to get Aaron Rodgers in here. I mean, I think he's going to upgrade over Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, Anthony Richardson, and Daniel Jones. So Aaron Rodgers, I mean, the defense of the Pittsburgh Steelers, man, they were holding this team together. And yeah, Russell Wilson had a couple games where he made some big plays. I think Aaron Rodgers can make those plays. Like, seriously. Russell Wilson took a lot of sacks, made a lot of throws that were, once in a while he'd make a really good throw. Like, yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers still has that in him. I do. In the fact that Aaron Rodgers beat the Steelers in the Super Bowl, it would be kind of cool for him to be the first person to win a Super Bowl with the team he beat in the Super Bowl. That would just be a fun little twist on it. But it was kind of weird because you heard people coming out for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I keep wanting to say Albert Hainsworth, but that's not who it is. It's somebody that was like, you either know or you don't know. Like, this whole darkness retreat thing and having to, it's like, dude, for your own sake, shut the hell up. Like, you do know you're about to go into the season with Russell Wilson. You know what I mean? Like, you should be trying to recruit him, not just like going on a tangent about what he does on his own spiritual journey, which is like, I mean, I'm sorry, but I don't care what people do, like, for their mental health. I don't think it's something to make fun of. Like, I don't know why there's certain people that we've gotten so comfortable with, like, oh, let's insult their mental health, but then let's also be like, oh, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. And then somebody does something for their mental health and then they get attacked for it because we don't understand it. And who cares? Why do we have to understand what someone else is doing for their mind? You know what I mean? Like, that's just weird. That's weird behavior, in my opinion. Like, who cares? If somebody wants to do a cold plunge, it doesn't matter if you get it or not. Like, you don't have to do it. You don't have to get in the cold water. You don't have to take testosterone replacement therapy. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do, and you don't need to co-sign on anything anyone else does. Okay? But the point that I'm trying to make is that this guy's making these underhanded comments about Aaron Rodgers, like, hurry up and decide already. And it's like, dude, you're a player. You have no idea what's going on right now. You know what I mean? You have no clue where they're at in the contract negotiations. No clue. And I'm going to close this window because it got so laggy when I opened that. Let me close this one too. And this one. Fuck it. We'll close them all. You have no clue where they're at. I mean, for all we know, this deal is already done and they're just trying to figure out how much money. Okay. And if that's the case, you might be making some underhanded comments to a guy that is going to be in your locker room in a couple of weeks. And that's just weird. You know what I mean? Like, oh, hey, by the way, I didn't mean that. I was just getting impatient. Right. And that's why, like, I think whenever players are on podcasts, or even players like Micah Parsons who have a podcast, it's not like what it was like in the 90s or even the early 2000s up to 2000 and, honestly, 2018 maybe. Like, players didn't do podcasts. Like, they were professional athletes and that's what they did. You got Micah Parsons talking about games hours after the game on his own podcast. And then Monday morning, there's a headline saying Micah Parsons makes, cryptic message or sends a message to his teammates. And, like, we already know that people can't be trusted with the media. Like, the people don't have the ability to read a headline and be like, no, that's stupid, right? It has an effect on you. It does for everybody, me included. Look at me. I'm talking about the headline that this dude made from saying that Aaron Rodgers and making fun of his darkness thing. Everybody does. So it's just like, it's not something that is, I think, great for players, because now the next day the Dallas Cowboys are like, oh, what did Micah say about it? He called us out after the game. It's not good. It's really not good. But players, they have long been, saying things in the off season that catches up to them. I mean, we had all this stuff last year with Caleb Williams where it was like, what was it with one of the Bears was like, yeah, you better, realize that he's with a bunch of professionals now. And it was like, okay, like, does this guy have beef with Caleb Williams before he's even a Bear? And then there was like that weird stuff with the white Keenan Allen. And then, like, it was like, no, we're good. It's just like, if I was an NFL player, I would just be like, if it's not about me, don't ask me about it. All right. And then if I'm going to talk about somebody else, it's got to be positive, right? You critique in private, you praise in public. That's just the deal. Now, Aaron Rodgers, okay, Pittsburgh Steelers, there's been an offer made, okay? That is the main reason that we are saying that there's a really good chance that he's going to be a Steeler. I want to hit some of these comments really quick. And Jen just said, well said. Appreciate that. Nick said, speaking of the draft, I think Diggs ends up a post-draft signing for a team that doesn't get the wide receiver in the draft. Denver, maybe. And that is one of the teams that I'm going to be bringing up here in a second. But you're right on with that. And then Jen just said, does that say Will Fries 2 years, $25 million? It does. It does say Will Fries. Yeah, and I got did you say 25 million? No, 2.5 million. I was like, wait, did I fuck up my ticker? And then I got 3 of those. So I'm just going to keep that rolling for you guys, okay? But offer has been made from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay, strong factor. Very strong. Another strong factor. The Steelers have a strong defense. Okay. And the third thing is that they're a contender. All right. Their status right now would be considered a contender. Okay. The other team, the Giants, location continuity, right? He doesn't have to leave same stadium. That's like the only good thing. The other key factor is that there's a need at quarterback. And then the Minnesota Vikings ruled out as of recently, and they're focusing on McCarthy. So the likelihood for the Vikings is low. I got the likelihood for the Giants moderate, and the Pittsburgh Steelers I have as high. Both players' decisions are influenced, or both teams are going to be looking for a quarterback outside of who's in their current room right now. I don't see the Steelers or the Giants going into next season with Drew Lock, Russell Wilson, or Justin. Well, Justin Fields is now a Jet, so that just makes it even weirder because it's like, so is that what the Jets are doing? Are the Jets rolling with Fields? We just heard an article that came out that said the Jets believe that Justin Fields has the tools to be a star in the league. And we know that Brian Daboll is a really good quarterback coach. I don't know. We'll find out. But I mean, let's pivot to the Diggs thing, because the Aaron Rodgers thing to me is a done deal. We're just waiting on it to be released. And then this is the and Nick said, God, it would be funny if the Giants made it to the playoffs with Rodgers. And then Nick said, given the last eternity, the Jets' pain must be maximized so Rodgers will win a Super Bowl with the Giants. Oh my God, dude, that would be hilarious. And where is the Super Bowl? It's in Santa Clara, I believe, this year, which is good news for the Broncos because last time it was there, we won the Super Bowl. Okay, Diggs. I talked about how he was a number 1 receiver in the league, number 2, number 3, top 3 for sure, about 18 months ago. Okay. Josh Allen was throwing him the ball. He was on top of the world. They would go to the playoffs and lose. Nothing's changed on that front. But Stefon Diggs, his value was enormous. Everybody knew that he was a problem on the field. And unfortunately, he was also a problem off the field. You had him storming out of the locker room after the playoff loss, not waiting to talk to the team. You had subliminal messages from Josh Allen all of last season that it's just great to not have to worry about who I'm throwing the ball to. We all knew who he was talking about when he said that. Okay. But Diggs spent 4 productive seasons with the Bills. 4. And they were very, very productive. 5,372 receiving yards, 37 touchdowns. I mean, when he left in 2024, there was a lot of cryptic social media going on in March, reposting Bills-related photos on Instagram. Okay, Stefon Diggs, I don't know if this is one-sided, but when he left Buffalo, it seemed like he was done with Buffalo. He went to Houston, got injured week 8, was out for the rest of the season. He's predicted to be ready to go week 1, and now you have him posting pictures of Bills things on his Instagram. Okay. This has started speculation of a possible reunion with the Buffalo Bills. And it's like with everything Josh Allen said last year, and honestly, I said before the season started, this will be Josh Allen's best season to date. And that prediction did not disappoint. I think when you look at what Josh Allen did last year with what he had, I think that Josh Allen's performance at quarterback last season was one of the all-time great quarterback seasons of all time, period. It's there with Peyton Manning's 2013 season, Tom Brady's 2011 season. It is up there. And does Josh Allen want to go, all right, let's bring Stefon Diggs back in the mix? I mean, the Bills' familiarity with the Diggs combined with their need for a real number one receiver makes it a plausible option. But the past issues with the team, with Josh Allen, I feel like it just complicates negotiations. If this was a marriage that has never happened before, this seems like a perfect fit. Are they going to be able to step outside of everything that was and maybe ignore it for the upside of what could be? Okay. The Seattle Seahawks, another good option where the Seahawks seem like a logical fit. All right. They know how to handle big personality wide receivers. Well, Pete Carroll did, at least. And that's why I think the Raiders are also a good option, because DK Metcalf, you know that he was a lot to handle. And Pete Carroll handled his players fine. Apparently, Russell Wilson wanted out for a while. Didn't really hear about that too much. Apparently, Seahawks fans knew about it. If you're not a Seahawks fan, you probably thought Russell Wilson was happy with the Seahawks for most of his time there, because I did, and I followed the sport pretty closely. I heard like a couple things, but then like he played another season, and then I heard something again, and I was like, does he even want to be traded? It wasn't like the Diggs thing where it was like tantrum. Russell Wilson cared way too much about his appearance to do that. But the Seahawks, the Raiders, the Chiefs, the Broncos, there's a lot of teams that will be interested in Diggs. It's just about the price point, right? And I got to go with Nick on this one. Like, I think at this point, teams are just waiting to see what happens in the draft. What's shocking to me is how fast a 31-year-old wide receiver is being treated like a 35-year-old wide receiver. I'm 30. I'm going to be 31 in August. I go to the gym every day. I can tell you that I don't feel too different, you know? So it's like the number changes, the perception changes, but like as a player, if you take really good care of your body, I think you can still do amazing things at 31. Like 31 is not like Aaron Rodgers trying to go at 42. All right. I think we need to like calm down a little bit. Anytime a player leaves a team he was at for a while and then goes to one team and then goes to another one, we automatically put him in this group. All right. That's why we have Davante Adams in this group. Davante Adams is a real number one receiver, like right now. And he's going to be a number 2 with Puka Nacua. Like that is a steal. But the fact that we think of Davante Adams like, yeah, he's not what he was. I'm not entirely sure that's true. And I think with Diggs, with the price, it's obviously not going to be very expensive because of the desirability or lack thereof. It seems like whoever is going to get Diggs is going to get him with a low risk, high reward type of salary. The Seahawks, they got a new offensive look under Clint Kubiak. So they bring in a new offensive mind. Stefon Diggs could be that veteran leadership. He's predicted to end his free agency stint by signing with a new look NFC team. That was reported by Sporting News. Diggs could rebuild his value on a younger team with potential, especially if he prioritizes long-term stability over immediate contention. What is Diggs looking for? Chances are whoever gets Diggs is going to get him on a 1-year deal. He's probably going to sign a 2-year deal, but if he can get a 1-year deal and have a 1,200-yard season and have 8 touchdowns and be a number 1 receiver for a team like the Seahawks, instead of going to another team where it's like last year where they have Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and Diggs, and it's like you get lost in the sauce. What does he want? If he wants a Super Bowl, he might just want to be the final piece. What about the Ravens? Why are the Ravens not interested? I mean, you look at the Ravens and it's like, okay, Zay Flowers, everybody else is all right. There's like a young wide receiver that they drafted out of North Carolina, Devontae Walker, I think. He was a rookie last year. He didn't get a ton of playing time. I mean, Diggs would be right away a great fit for for Baltimore. I really don't know why Baltimore hasn't already signed him. But if Diggs wants to win a Super Bowl, a move like that makes sense. But if what Diggs really wants is to make one more big contract like how Von Miller got out of Buffalo, if he goes to the Seahawks and has that type of season we talked about, he might be able to get himself a 3-year, $60 million deal with the team. All right. And it's funny, like, look at Odell Beckham, right? He was like on the cover of Madden because of that catch. He was the best in the league. And what I'm finding out now, and I don't think I realized this so much as a kid because I was spoiled with guys like Terrell Owens and Randy Moss and Calvin Johnson, Torrey Holt, Anquan Bolden, Larry Fitzgerald, Chad Ochocinco or Chad Johnson, like Wes Walker. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but the receivers I grew up with tend to have very long careers. And lately, it seems like receivers are hitting 30 and they're just like, Odell's gone, right? Stefon's not on a team. It's happening, and it's kind of weird. I got to say, it is kind of weird. And I think Kansas City should be the team that we're all thinking of because Kansas City is constantly the team that brings in these type of players, and we're like, of course he went to the Chiefs. Like, of course, right? Because the one thing the Chiefs have with paying Mahomes, and they had to let all of these guys walk, that's why it's so impressive that they keep getting back to the Super Bowl because they cannot keep their team together. Because when you go to a Super Bowl, especially when you win a Super Bowl, your value is at an all-time high. You can't pay all these people. So you let them walk, and then you capitalize on the Patrick Mahomes value. People want to play with Mahomes, so they sign veteran-friendly deals, and they choose the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay. I mean, you go into next season, they already re-signed Hollywood Brown. So you got Hollywood Brown, Stefon Diggs, and DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, dude, 2 years ago, that would be like arguably 3 years ago, that would be the best receiving core in the league. All right. But we're not 3 years ago. It's 2025. But still, it's like if D-Hop going into his second season now with Mahomes, it's hard to judge players when they're coming in mid-season from somewhere else. Like, I don't think Amari Cooper is totally washed, but we're doing the same thing with Amari Cooper where it's like he left the Browns and then he goes to another team. And then once he gets traded to Buffalo, you can't build a rapport in the middle of the season. Now he's going to go to another team, and we're just like, Amari Cooper had a good season. He's 31 years old, just like Diggs. I'm not sure that he's done. Give him a full offseason and a training camp to get with his quarterback. Stop trading these guys midseason. And then when it doesn't work, saying that they fell off a cliff. Maybe they did, but it's also possible that they didn't. I don't think Amari Cooper's done. I mean, just a little over 12 months ago, he was coming off of a 1,200-yard season, and he was very, very consistent. So I don't know. I really don't. He did have 12 drops last year, which was kind of uncharacteristic, but he also had 12 drops, I think, 3 seasons ago. But overall, Amari Cooper is a net positive on the locker room. He is a coach on the field. He's one of the best route runners in the game. And if you have a young receiving core, he's somebody that you want on the team just because of the veteran leadership. But there is a handful of, maybe I would say, I don't want to say that they're not stars, because I think they have star potential. They're just not who they were, right? But luckily for all of these guys, for the teams that are going to get them, they still want to prove to the world that they're that guy. Diggs wants to go out and be a number 1 receiver, right? He's not dumb. Like, everybody thinks he's washed. Everybody thinks it was Josh Allen. I mean, it didn't go well with Houston, right? The guy didn't even play half the season. Nobody wants to go out like that. Same thing's going on with Aaron Rodgers. This season is really being defined as older veteran players wanting to remind the league that they are still a bad man. That is what this season's becoming about. And there's going to be a lot of players on this revenge tour. And unfortunately for some of them, it's not going to go well, because just wanting to prove people wrong is not enough, right? You actually have to be good enough to do it. And unfortunately for some of them, it might not be the case, but you got to pick and choose which ones you believe will come through for you. I definitely think Aaron Rodgers is worth a game or 2 over Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Can the defense hold up, and be as good as they were last year? Can TJ Watt stay healthy? These are all questions that need to be answered. But I think the likelihood for Stefon Diggs returning to Buffalo, arguably it's high. You got just the familiarity and then the recent social media stuff. The Seahawks, new offense, rebuilding value, moderate to high. And then the Kansas City Chiefs, I have moderate to high as well, just because the Chiefs are a contender. But there has not been a lot of recent buzz about it. But the Chiefs don't, I mean, they don't really have a lot of buzz before they sign somebody. They just do it. And you wake up on a random Tuesday and you're like, Diggs signs 1-year contract with the Chiefs. And you're not shocked at all, right? I'm not ruling that out one bit. Jen just said, when the dude before the last brought up that Adams was statistically the 32nd best QB last season, what the hell he was in, or with the hell that he was in, Adams is a steal of 3 offseason for LA. That was a brilliant move. And of course, somebody like Sean McVay figured it out. Anquan Bolden, haven't heard that one in a while. He was damn good. So was Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall was, I forget Brandon Marshall played with the Dolphins. That always, whenever I remember that, I'm like, oh yeah, he did do that. Nick said, is it draft wide receivers are coming out more pro ready and teams are saving draft capital? Yeah, I think so. And that kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier about waiting to the draft is over to make a move on these guys. Because let's say Denver wants to get Luther Burden with their first round pick, which that's who I got them getting. Okay. Let's say that they don't get Luther Burden. The second round's up. There's 2 guys that they're eyeing. Both of them go. And they were like, holy crap, we really didn't think anybody had those guys on the radar. And it's like, well, Mel Kiper says that there's this many receivers worth drafting in round 2. But Sean Payton says that there's 2 receivers worth drafting in round 2. And if we were to draft the guys in round 3 that are going to be, or that, let's say those 2 guys are gone, now you got to reach down to get somebody, and you're like, no, we're not going to overdraft a wide receiver. Then you get into the 3rd round and those guys are gone. And it's like, look, it's just not working out. We're getting high value players. We're getting the highest value for our pick. We're not going to be a victim of drafting a position and overdrafting because of a need. And those situations unfold during the draft. They're unique. They can't be planned for. And the teams that find themselves like, God, it just wasn't working out for us. Just like there will be teams that every time they're on the clock, it's like, yes, yes, yes. There's going to be teams that are like, oh, damn it. I mean, imagine if somebody would have picked Bo Nix. Imagine if that wild Atlanta pick for Michael Penix was a Bo Nix pick. Imagine now knowing what we know about Sean and how in love he was with Bo. Imagine how detrimental that would have been to our draft. And you could just tell the way he lit up in the Pat McAfee interview right after drafting Bo Nix that he was relieved. He looked relieved. That's somebody that was really, really hoping and praying that he would get his guy. But sometimes you don't. And in those cases, I think you call a Stefon Diggs. I think the Cowboys wanted to draft a running back last year. I really do. I think every time that they were on the clock, somebody they were interested in was drafted recently. And I think they're like, Zeke, will you come do a workout? And then he signs a deal shortly after. Like, these are contingency plans. It's not plan A. But I think Stefon Diggs shouldn't be somebody's plan B. I think he's good enough. It really doesn't make sense to me that he's not on a team. It doesn't. I could understand Amari Cooper. I don't agree with it, but I could understand it. Like, okay, now Amari's in that group where somebody's going to call him after the draft. Sure. But Stefon Diggs, man, like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's weird. Why is Stefon Diggs not even visiting teams? Like, you're hearing nothing. And this kind of happened last year when Denver decided to cut Justin Simmons. We were like, what? He's our second best player on defense. He's a guy who has been the top 100 for many years. A Pro Bowler, a true professional, a Walter Payton Man of the Year, a leader of men, like literally checks every single box. And as soon as Denver cut him, I still have his jersey. I won't let it go. Like, I love Justin Simmons. As soon as we let him go, nobody called for him. It was just like Stefon Diggs, right? All through the pre-draft, nobody called him. Then the draft happened. Then after the draft, and then finally he got a phone call, and it's like, wait, are these guys really not valuable to other people? I mean, it's strange to me how players go from just being on top of the mountain to just being somebody that's like an afterthought. Like that. It's such a shame about Simmons. Dude never played in a playoff game. And yeah, and I know the worst part is that Simmons was probably one of the happiest people when the Broncos clinched the playoffs. I mean, that's just who he was. But let me see. I had one more thing I wanted to bring up. I think tomorrow or Tuesday, me and Rick are going live, which will be awesome. We got Rick back in North America. Everybody put a dog shit in the chat for Rick, and I will clip this and send it to him. Cameron Hayward. That was the guy that made those comments I was trying to think of. Shador Sanders. We're going to talk about him tomorrow, so I don't want to get into that. The Bucks GM feels good about Chris Godwin's injury recovery. Would never bet against him. Mac Jones on proven system in San Francisco. Wanted to surround myself with winners. We can talk a little bit about Brock Purdy tomorrow as well. Jameis Winston signing a 2-year deal, potentially the first black quarterback to ever take a snap for the New York Giants. I couldn't believe that when I heard that. But Jameis Winston will see Tommy DeVito every single day in the Giants quarterback room. Man, I think this is an absolute steal for the Giants, and I know nobody's going to agree with me. That's fine. Look, Jameis Winston's awesome. Seriously, not just his personality, but he's a great quarterback. Like, okay, I need to calm down. Maybe he's not a great quarterback, but he's a very talented quarterback that is by far the best. If he is a backup, he's the best backup in the damn league, period. Go watch the Cleveland game. Like, you're watching Jameis Winston play. Yeah, did he throw bad interceptions and cost the game? Sure did. You know what, though? He almost won it. And for all the people out there that are like, yeah, almost winning buys you nothing, I don't agree. Not when you've had Tommy DeVito. Not when you've had Daniel Jones. Look, if you've been scoring 7 to 10 to 13 points a game, 2 picks, going on 5 game streaks where your quarterback doesn't have a passing touchdown, if that's what you've had, yeah, I'll take 5 touchdown passes and a bad interception late in the game to lose 43-41. I'll take that any day of the week. Like, yes, I would want that every single day over. And everyone's going to be like, everyone focuses on the interception. It's like, okay, but what's the point? Tommy DeVito and whatever else is going on in the New York quarterback room is not even in the same league as what Jameis Winston is. And by the way, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, I don't care which one it is, Jameis Winston's playing better football as he gets older. He's getting better. I don't know if the interceptions are going to stop. I really don't. But I do know that if Jameis Winston starts an entire 17 games, he's probably going to throw for over 4,000 yards. That doesn't happen on accident. Like, this dude knows how to push the ball down the field. He is a competitor. He knows how to lead his team. He knows how to hard count. Somebody jump off sides, damn it. Like, he loves football, man. He loves it. And he's somebody that you want in your locker room. He is an immediate upgrade, and there's no guarantee that Shedeur Sanders is going to come out of college and be as good as Jameis Winston is right now. I know that Shedeur Sanders might sell more seats. He might sell more jersey. He might sell more hope. But if you get rid of all those things that are just financially measurable or emotionally measurable and just get to the facts and the data, Jameis Winston is probably a better quarterback than those rookie quarterbacks are right now. And that's the whole logic with bringing in Winston, is to train, because one thing you know about Winston is he's going to be like, it is my job to get Shedeur Sanders ready. And that is my job, and I take it very serious. As a leader of this football team, I feel like it's a representation of me. If he's not ready to go, then I didn't do my job. Like, he's going to be that guy for whatever rookie is drafted. It's a dream come true. And if that quarterback isn't ready, having Jameis Winston instead of, Tommy DeVito, it's like could save your entire season. It could keep your fans coming to games past week 10. It could keep you in a wild card race. It could be the reason that you're seeing your quarterback, your rookie quarterback, taking positive strides every single week. this signing is going to slip under the rug because it's the Giants and it's Jameis Winston. This is one of the best signings of the offseason, in my opinion, for everybody involved. I'm talking about coaches. I'm talking about Jameis Winston. I'm talking about the Giants, the fan base, and the players that aren't even on the team yet. This is a great move for everybody. And Jameis Winston, of course, sent out a tweet immediately, and he said, start spreading the news with the W being capitalized. And on that note, I'm going to let you guys have a great night. I got to get some sleep tomorrow. I got to get up in like 5 hours. So it's going to be a long one tomorrow, but we are going to be live either tomorrow afternoon or Tuesday afternoon. And me and Rick back in the studio together. And going to hit some of these comments real quick. Ginger said, Tommy D's, baby. Nick said he's going to throw TDs. He doesn't know who the TDs will be for, but they'll be TDs. It was like after the Broncos game where they were like, he actually threw 6 or 7 TDs. It was like 2 of them were to the Broncos, but 5 of them were to his team. Well, of course, he's maturing some. He's only 30, and OT was literally impossible for him not to mature. LOL, dude was a 20-year-old, 13-year-old in college. It's very true. And same thing kind of happened with Geno. We didn't really see Geno play as much as Jameis, but yeah, man. I mean, I know as a 30-year-old that there's a lot of maturing that happens. Even from 27 to 30, it's like you just keep making these massive jumps. And every time you make one, you look back and you're like, I thought I was done growing up. And it's another big jump. I haven't seen much negativity for the signing, to be honest. I've mostly seen people say that it's going to be wildly fun, even the Giants. Yeah, I don't think people are going to say like anything negative. I just don't know if the true gravity, like in a positive way, is going to really hit people. Maybe it will. Maybe it will. I've only seen the news. I haven't seen how people are responding to it, but I'm glad to see that people are not being negative about it because I think it's going to be fun. I think New York is just a big enough city to contain that personality of Jameis Winston. And Jen just said, see you boys, long live Bill, and absolutely always, always, always rest in peace to Bill. And I hope Bill would be happy with the Jameis Winston signing. I think he would. Bill was such a good sport about everything. Like you just know that Bill would have had a great attitude about it. If you guys want to follow this channel, you can hit the sub button. If you're on X watching it, go ahead and hit the like button. You can hit like on YouTube as well, only if you liked it. If you don't even bother. We don't want any pity likes. We actually want you to like it if you liked it. But if you did, come back and see us. Rick is my partner. He is my podcast partner. He is a Bears fan. He is a lot of fun. He's the yin to my yang. He is finally back from his honeymoon in the DR, so we can harass him a bit about that when he comes back. And if you guys haven't been here before, this is our football channel. We come at you live twice a week during the football season. We come at you like 3-4 times a week, bringing you a lot of football content. It's been a weird month for us because, like I said, I just got this new promotion and I've been working like 70, 75 hours. And Rick was gone for 2 weeks on his honeymoon, so it's been hard. We've been trying to get the content out, but some weeks are harder than others. So thank you guys for bearing with us. I'm just happy you guys show up when we show up. And if you guys keep showing up, just know we'll keep showing up. So I will see you guys tomorrow. God bless you. Love you guys. Peace.
America is football.
Football is America. If you don't like it, you can kiss your candy ass on the moment in time. I don't give a damn. Oh my God.
No.
You loved it.
30 to 27. Chiefs win. 30